What's up, you book face tube? Talking about the worm. You ever do the worm? Everybody's tried the worm before. It's a dance move. It's also a Hollywood concept. The thing about Hollywood concepts, okay, movies like The Matrix, Children of the Corn, dystopian worlds ran by kids. Not getting into that one now, but there's prevalent concepts throughout media. Matrix is the best example. The reason why these occurrences happen is it's a manifestation of a bleeding through of the collective consciousness. These are concepts, stories that are bleeding through the collective consciousness that exist for a reason. Okay? That's what the Matrix is, really. That's why people get so like up in arms about like, you know, oh, there's a conspiracy movie. You know, the Matrix is a conspiracy movie. Well, it's that story just naturally bleeds through the collective consciousness. Okay? Same thing with the Dune worm. Okay? Dune is a very historical movie. That was the first movie that used computer generated images. Okay? And then you have movie Tremors, Kevin Bacon. You're walking on the sand and a worm comes up and eats you. Okay? If you see the movie Dune, you got a bunch of Bedouins, Bedouin tribes. They learn how to ride this giant sand monster, this giant worm that lives in the desert. Okay? You see what's going on over there in Israel, in the Middle East. There's another Hollywood concept, maybe, it's reality. These fucking world leaders, you got people like Donald Trump, fucking George Bush, Putin. You got these world leaders meeting up with these fucking terrorists living in holes in the ground, asking them what they want. What do you want? That's how much of a threat they pose to the current global structure. These people in Gaza, and they know it too. Hamas, Hezbollah, Mujahideen, these terrorist organizations that were once funded by the U.S. How they have so much power. Okay? It's the story in their religion. It's the way the words condition those people. They're conditioned to view death as a release. And that's the worm. The worm is I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna, occult interpretation of the Islamic scriptures. Okay, they're more open about their occult interpretation, so it's not really occult, because occult means hidden. But it's the way that they interpret the symbology of their scripture that turns them that brings that energy out from inside them. That's the worm. The worm is the occult interpretation of the Islamic scriptures. Okay? That's the worm that lives in the desert, underground. Okay? You know, I don't know too much about the Islamic religion as of now, which I plan on learning more about it in the future. But, you know, that's the symbology. That's what's bleeding through the collective consciousness, creating these stories of a worm that lives underground in the desert. It's the way that those people interpret the words in their scripture. That's the underground worm. So you have the scripture, that's the above ground. That's Islam. Those are all like the cool Islamic chill people, you know, they go to Mecca and pray. And then you have the underground. And those are the people who interpret the word a certain way. But whoever wrote the Islamic religion, whoever created it, that's a different story, different video I should make about. But the way that the religions of the world have been set up has been designed to create what's going on over there today. All right, and if you see some of my other videos, I talk about how all the monotheistic religions of today, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, they're all about 400 years old. It's beside the point. Point is, it's all of this shit in the world today, the financial system, everything about it has been set up for what's going on over in the Middle East today, particularly with Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Cairo, Egypt, okay? That was the capital of the old world. So, that's the worm. There's a song. It's just, now we're getting too much to it, but it's like, if you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm. That's what they say in Dune. Now, if I try to apply interpretation to that, I think we're taking this a little too far. You know, what about rhythm? You know, sound, okay? You know, what are words? Sound. Okay, so it's the pattern of the way that their words have been set up to create open portals within our mind by how we understand the word, which unlocks these energies within us. And those people over there in the Middle East, living in Bedouins, all right. They are the absolute most conditioned people on the planet because of how the logic in their words of the Islamic religion breaks down. That has to do with the occult side to Islam, which there is not an occult side to Islam, just like Judaism. They have Kabbalah. Christians, they have Gnosticism. Buddhists, they have Tantra. Okay, these are the occult sides of those religions. Islam doesn't really have that. Islam doesn't have an occult side to its religion. That's what Sharia law kind of is. They're more open about it. So technically it's not a cult because they're more open about it. But that's basically what it is. And that's why it has so much power. Because they're the only ones who are open about the occult side in their religion. Very open. They have their own fucking political regime. That's how powerful occultism is. That's the power of occultism. Okay. You know, Gnosticism, that's where archetypes come from, I guess you could say. You know, then you got Kabbalah, where language comes from. If you take your hand like this, the shape of, as if you were grabbing an apple from a tree, that's the shape of this hand. And if you shined a light on it, If you shine a light on your hand making this shape from 26 different angles, the shadow that's formed is where they get the letters from for the Hebrew alphabet. And the reason why they did this was to preserve the language. That's what Kabbalah all is basically about, is the pattern in the language. Tantra, Buddhist mysticism, people think it has to do with sex. It's like 10% of Tantra is sex. Okay, like intention. Intention is Tantra. You could call intention Tantra. They're not really open about it at all. Very, very, very like closed off about actual real Tantra. The Tantra of intention is that you can bypass self-reflection by having good intention. It doesn't matter, what. That's like saying the ends justifies the means, which isn't the case. And that's the problem with Netanyahu. What's going on over in Israel, in the Middle East. He thinks the ends justifies the means. As long as those people get wiped off the face of the planet, that's all that matters. No, I believe they should be allowed to have their own state. Problem is they want to develop their own military. The only reason why you'd want to develop your own military is if you want to attack somebody else. They should not be wanting to develop their own military if they want to be left alone. All right, that's just the basic psychology of military, developing military. If you want, if you want to be left alone by, foreigners, then don't attack them. Leave the foreigners alone. Don't attack the foreigners. See, Machiavelli's a prince. If you read The Prince by Machiavelli, he says the reason why that they had castles was to... he said, what did he say? He said, if you want to protect yourself against foreigners, foreign invasions, well, leave the foreigners alone. Simple. But if you want to protect yourself against your own people, then you should build fortresses. And that's what the castles are from. That's why there's castles. That's what the castles are from. That's Machiavelli said that. He said if you want to, protect yourself against foreign invaders, well, leave the foreigners alone. That's all you have to do if you want to protect yourself against foreign invasions. Just leave the foreigners alone. Don't attack them. Mind your own business. But if you want to protect yourself against your own people, then you should build fortresses. Okay, this is in The Prince by Machiavelli, which was like a how-to guide for new royals back in the Middle Ages. Which is where this whole system comes from. The Medici family paid Fibonacci to create the financial system that's in place today. And Fibonacci got all of the algorithms of the current financial system by studying the Arabic and Indian mathematical systems. That's why the word algorithm has the word al in front of it. Al-Hafiz, Al-Mujahid, anytime you hear the word al as a prefix, it originates from the Middle East. Alchemy, algebra, algorithm. Okay? So, I digress. Easy for me to digress. That's really what the worm is in Dune, the Dune worm. It's why that's such a prevalent concept throughout media, is because it's the way that is what you get when you break down the logic of the Islamic religion. That is what's embedded hidden. That logic is hidden inside the Islamic religion. And when you break down that scripture, when you break down the logic of that scripture, that's the energy that manifests within the consciousness, within the collective consciousness of those who seek to do that. Same thing with Kabbalah, with Judaism. When the Jews, that's what they do. They break down the words within their religion and they find the pattern of where their language comes from. Christians, when they break down the patterns of their religion, they find where their word comes from. It has to do with nature, how the images of reality represent the symbols of the language of God. You look at your shadow. In order for there to be darkness, light must exist first. And that's basically what paganism is. Okay, but there's an insanity to it. Okay, the world grows off the destruction of itself. The seasons, that's how the seasons work. Animals eat each other to survive. And that's what the worm represents, is the snake that eats itself, the Ouroboros. That represents insane logic. Christ represents insane logic. It's a God crucifying itself. Okay? And so that's what the worm is. It's another form of insane logic. That is where the energy of the old religion of this planet has been preserved. That's what Nazis were doing in Castle Wellsburg. Okay, that was the castle that Nazis were trying to summon pagan demons in. You wonder why they were so insane. It's because they were fucking around with the same shit that these Islams were. It's just different manifestation. Nazis knew what they were doing. Some of these Islams, they're getting stepped on. They're getting fucked over. They know it too, which just adds to their insanity. But it's the way that they are conditioned by the word. The words in their religion. Ultimate conditioning. Ultimate conditioning. When you can blow up a playground of school children, when you can suicide bomb innocent people and think that gets you into heaven and that makes you glorious God in heaven, like ultimate conditioning. And to view that as a release. It's like you don't see what's in front of you. You're not seeing the potential of this world in front of you. We live in the garden. Going back to Christianity here. I'm not a Christian, but there is some truth in all religions. And it's how you harvest, how you learn how to separate right from wrong. That's really what this world is about, is learning how to separate right from wrong. And it's wrong to harm innocent people. It's wrong to do this suicide bombing. That's wrong. Suicide is wrong. We should not be living in a system that makes us want to kill ourselves. Suicide is a personal choice, but we should not be living in a world where we have to decide whether suicide is right or wrong. And this, again, is another topic that needs to be another video, how this world is a slippery slope of morality. That's why Gandhi says, I know the path, it is straight and narrow. That's what it's like, walking in a slippery slope of morality. The path becomes narrow. So, on that note, I will just wish you well in your journey, and I hope you find what truly makes you happy. Because that's what this world is about. Learning how to separate right from wrong. And when you can learn how to do that, you'll find love within your heart. God bless.